Right, let's go get some food, monkey. Poor kid hasn't had lunch yet. It's 2 o'clock. We're going to go grab this sandwich, probably. I have a bit of an ulterior motive as well, because I've got a smartwatch. Good. Thing is, my watch is about 3 years old, 4 years old, I think. And what that means is it's quite old. Smartwatches barely existed 4 or 5 years ago. So, you know, it's not a first generation watch, it's a Sony smartwatch 2. So technically it's a second generation one, but I don't know, I think it still feels very much first generation. It does its job reasonably well, because at the moment its only real job is telling the time, and I also use it as a flashlight sometimes, and I use the timer quite often. And on top of that, it's kind of falling to bits, you know, first generation build quality and all. I know I'm going to need to retire this watch at some point soon, and I use the timer and the flashlight so often as a daily watch. I can't imagine going back to anything that wasn't a smartwatch. I did sort of try and have a bit of a look about a year ago, and the big problem I ran into was, in most cases I couldn't actually find one that I could try on or have a proper look at, which is a bit of an issue when you're talking about a watch. I mean, ultimately a watch is part jewellery, part function. I always find this quite a difficult quandary to be in. Should I let him sleep? And if so, for how long? Or should I wake him up? I'm hungry. I know he's hungry. I'll give him 5 minutes, I think, and then we'll go grab some food. I'm thinking I might just get some more Lego for him, because I like to try and build up his Lego collection. And the nice thing about Lego is I know he's not going to grow out of it. I mean, every bit of Lego I buy him now that doesn't get lost, he'll be able to use for years and years and years to come. I'm actually quite skeptical of this whole wearable tech thing. I don't see how you're going to be able to make a coat that has all the functions of a mobile phone, and I'm not even sure that people would want that. A watch that's got all the functions of a mobile phone. I mean, it's still a bit of a question as to how exactly you would make calls, and, you know, probably you'd want some sort of a foldable screen if you're going to browse the internet. But then, of course, if there was a demand for that, there would be less of a demand for the mobile phone. And I think that's really the thing. People just want one device that will do everything. And I think ultimately that will wind up being the mobile. That said, I do want a watch with a flashlight and a timer and an alarm. Actually, less the alarm, because I use my phone for that, which is quite handy because it means I can put my phone on the far side of the room, which means I have to get out of bed if I actually want to turn the thing off. If the alarm is within reach, I turn it off, I go back to sleep. 99 times out of 100. I still find waking up quite tricky, even though I have cut the caffeine down. Well, the weather certainly is not improving. It has got much worse. And Jasper still hasn't awoken, despite the fact that I've been trying to be as noisy as possible while making this blog post. I think I'm just gonna have to go for it, otherwise I'm gonna be sitting here till... As he's still a bit on the sleepy side, I'm thinking maybe we'll go check out the smartwatches first. I'm also going to take this opportunity to find out if my Android Pay thing works, now that I've changed the default payment to Android Pay. Hope it works, because it would be useful if it works. That was interesting. I think if I'm going to get one, I'll have to go down the Samsung route, which I don't love doing because they don't run a version of Android on their watch, I don't think. It's their own brew OS. I think I'm just gonna put that on ice for a little while. Oh, Jazzy is getting so heavy. I'll try and pay with my phone. Oh my word, that's so cool. Android Pay is working, Jasper. Is it yummy? What have you got there, Jasper? Oh, wow, hey. I've been waiting for the day when he gets old enough that we can play with Lego together, which is why he's holding a box that clearly says 6 to 12 on it, and he's 3. I'm sure I'm not the first father to find himself in this situation. Right, let's go home so we can build Lego. So is wearable tech just some kind of fad then? I think the integration of technology in just about everything, I fully expect to continue. You know, there are plenty of things that it's useful to be able to do with your watch. Like, for example, the thing that I use all the time is the flashlight thing, which is just basically where it turns the screen on white as bright as it can. And, you know, it gives you enough light to not fall down some steps or to get your key out or whatever. So that's quite handy. A good timer and alarm, that's always very handy to have in a watch as well. I'm probably not going to browse the internet on my watch, if I'm being completely honest. Some alerts for emails and YouTube comments, that would be handy. Caller ID might be useful, I suppose. Save me fishing my phone out of the bag if I have absolutely no intent on actually answering the call. It's difficult for me to really say because I don't really use the smartwatch features of my phone particularly. Partly because it's quite old and they don't work that well. Partly because it runs the battery down so much quicker. And I definitely need to be getting a full day out of this thing, which is one of the reasons why I chose this watch over the original Samsung one back then, because the battery life was significantly better. Of course, one of the things that makes wearable tech a possibility at all in the first place is small, high energy density batteries. Without that, how do you make a watch-sized device which can run a colour screen and have a Wi-Fi and Bluetooth link to all sorts of things? Ooh, speaking of wireless links to things, so cool, I actually got the Android Pay thing to work. I don't know if that was just because Costa accept it and everywhere else doesn't, or perhaps it was like I thought, you know, that actually the problem was I just hadn't selected that as the default payment providing service on my phone. Either way, very cool that it's now working. And that's the kind of feature that I think built into a watch makes a lot of sense. I bet if I get the Samsung one, it won't work with Android Pay. I mean, I know what Samsung want to do. They want to try and be the Apple of non-Apple devices. But that's not something I have any interest in supporting. I like Android because it's relatively open source, and I like to be able to change the OS on things. You know, maybe not everyone wants to do these things, but I feel, and often I don't like to do them either, but I feel that the freedom that can come from that is something that should just be baked into everything. It's one of the main reasons why I don't like iOS devices. You know, they work well, but if you want flexibility with them, you can't have it. Or at least you can have it, but you have to, you know, break a fair number of rules, laws, terms and conditions, and possibly your device. Tomorrow we're back on the road, so 90%. You gonna help Daddy building it?
Yes.
Oh, good.
Now I'm not gonna help it, Daddy, because I'm a big boy. Now I'm gonna help the Jasper.
Oh, you want Daddy to help Jasper? Hey, Mummy.
I bought balloons for you.
Wow!
Look at that. Oh. I think you need to hold on tight because we don't want them to go all the way up.
Go all the way up there. Right, well, I now have pink balloons. I hope you've all enjoyed today's vlog post. If you have, remember to like it and share it and subscribe if you haven't already. And I'll see you tomorrow for the next installment of my daily vlog. Bye.